So my name is Marie Kielty, and I am a career coach here in TU Dublin. So really, I suppose the very fact that you're all in attendance at this session today, you're thinking about courses, you're thinking about your options, you're potentially in that pre-CAO season. So it's great that you're open-minded and thinking about how best you can make a course choice. Obviously, there are a myriad of courses around, and that is the problem. There are so many different potential courses, even within similar subject headings, that it can be quite tricky. So what I'm going to walk you through in this session is just some general tips and advice on how you can include your preferences. This is really very much about you. You will be the student, so we want you to make the best choice you can so that when you do come on campus, be it into TU Dublin or another college, that you will have made the most informed choice that you can with vis-a-vis your skills, your interests, your abilities, and your personality. So that's a broad outline of what we're hoping to cover. So what you're looking at here are a series of numbers. But in isolation, those numbers don't mean anything. But when I explain them to you, so the 2 is significant in that there are 2 semesters in every academic year. A semester, it may or may not be language you're familiar with. It's essentially 2 terms. There are 2 14, 15-week periods in every academic year. So roughly you are attached to the campus for approximately 30 weeks. But of those 14 or 15 weeks, so there's our 14 there, it's probably 12 teaching weeks and a week of study and then a week of exams. So, you know, it can be long or it can be very short, depending on how well suited to the program or course you are. But all in, over a 4-year period with 2 semesters each year, if you complete a level 8 program, you would be in attendance in the region of 640 days. Now that's a significant amount of time. So what we would like to ensure is that you choose your course carefully so that whilst you are on campus, that you will enjoy and be fulfilled and really excel in the environment that you're in, and that it is a deliberate course choice for you and not an accidental course choice. So ideally, you know, it will be our ambition or our aim that you would be awarded or offered courses that are, you know, in your top 3, top 4, within your top 3 or 4 choices. You're probably not going to be hugely content on a course that's down around your 9th or 10th course choice. But if you stay within the same course families, that of course can be very helpful. In terms of the 20%, that's obviously a different figure and a different number. Just for many of you, 20% of you will actually meet the love of your life in college. So it's not all doom and gloom, but it obviously helps if you can get the course right. So that said, often there's a picture of a very unhappy baby. When you start college and when you start your course, if you find that it's not working out for you and that you're unsettled on it, these are the sorts of students that would come across our paths, particularly in September and October. Made a bad course choice, don't know what to do about it. How can you fix it? What flexibility is there in the system? So as a career coach, we can certainly sit down with you and walk you and talk you through your options. But it is our intention that we don't want to see people in this state of distress. We want you at this point, this side of the CAO deadline, to think and reflect and have a little think in terms of, well, what can I do to sit back and laugh my way through the course and enjoy it and be fulfilled and really, really enjoy coming into college every day, because that's what it's ultimately about. Nobody has ever said that college should be an endurance or a drudgery. Really, you're going to make hopefully lifelong friends, but you're also going to find yourself challenged and stimulated, whilst at the same time enhancing and developing and building those employability skills for the future. So really, it's happy campers that we want. And the more you can take from this session today, the better, because then you will hopefully make considered choices. and that will allow you being the operative word, to develop and excel and achieve and attain your goals. So what, it is all about you. So whilst there may be hundreds and potentially thousands of students starting college and coming on campus the same time as you have to look out for you, and you have to realize what your skills are, what your interests are, what your hobbies. And you may know some of those answers today, but it is always worth just digging a small bit deeper and think about your hobbies, and think about, if you have a part-time job, what aspects of it do you like? What aspects do you love? What's the difference between the two? So I'm going to walk you through that over the next few slides. So really, there are 4 key elements, and I've referred to it a couple of times. So your interest is the very first element of that. So in terms of your individual interests, and we're a nice small group, what are your preferences? Do you prefer to be indoors, outdoors? Do you like reading, swimming, movies, gardening? Are you with people? Are you without people? Are you on your own? Are you an independent learner? So there are lots of different aspects that you can examine in terms of your interests. So away from school and away from studying, what are your hobbies and interests? What do you like to do? What gives you the buzz? What gives you that energy to keep going forward and to sustain you? So just taking that as a wee example, if we were to take a course topic or an area, let's say sports, a sports graduate. So if you came in and studied a sports program within TU Dublin, if you look at the centre grid here, the centre circle, so a typical sports graduate, excuse me, they may have preferences in terms of areas that they know today that they would really like to follow. And that's fantastic. If you know, you know. But equally, you may be a potential undergrad student who's just open to all of the different areas. So if we look at the goal writing, the grid, the second ring out, you could be a sports graduate, but you may be interested in teaching and coaching. You may be interested in going the pure science, laboratory science route. You may be interested in going the health and fitness route. There may be other aspects like sports journalism, recording podcasts, a sports commentator, or you may go into the media and marketing element of sports, or onto the sports development side. And offshoots from each of those areas, it's like a pyramid that keeps growing. So there are a myriad of areas that can influence the potential career depending on your interests and what you're passionate about, in terms of that singular example there of a sports graduate. Okay, also just to say, I will be very happy to take questions if anyone has some quick questions, or if you want to pop them into the chat and I can come to them at the very end. So look at your interests and consider them. The second aspect we want to look at is your values. What do you as an individual value? What's important to you? What are your core values? Now, some of you may have reflected on that and some of you may not. If you have a part-time job, and I'm sure many of you have, and if it's not current now as a result of COVID, maybe in the last couple of years you may have had a part-time job. What aspects of that did you value most? What were your personal values vis-a-vis that part-time job? Like, do you value respect? Do you value trust? Do you value loyalty? What are the aspects that are most important and resonate most with you? Values are very much unique to each individual, so it's not like I will have a set of values and the next person to me, they could be completely different. But often when you start working, so after your course, you will look for an employer whose values mirror or are similar to yours. And that's really important. If you've switched or moved part-time jobs because the values that you have don't correlate with an employer's, then you will understand what I'm talking about, is trying to get that fit from one to the next. But values are hugely important because you feel that you need to be valued, your opinion needs to be valued, and it needs to be trusted and honoured and respected. So your interests and your values, these are very innate personal qualities that are unique to each individual. And I will, of course, give you some links to resources if you're curious about deepening your knowledge for any of these areas or for all of these areas. So when you're looking at the vast array of courses on the CAO, find courses and programs, hopefully, that will align with your values, that will lead to potential employment opportunities that are in sectors that are of interest and of value to you. Okay, the third component of this are your skills. So what skills do you feel you have? What skills do you enjoy developing? Now, skills is a vast area, so it is certainly not a finite list. But just in my preparations for this session, I just even pulled out some information in terms of the top 5 skills in 2020. Now, obviously, 2020 is a very memorable year for everyone on this session. It's when the world got turned upside down. But things like creativity, persuasion, collaboration, adaptability, flexibility, I'm sure we could add in resilience there. These are all skills that we have been tested on and that have been developed and enhanced in each and every one of us, I suspect, over the last 1 to 2 years. But there are a whole vast range of other skills that each of us have. But those skills, a skill is something you're good at. A skill is something that you enjoy doing. So, are you the organizer in the class? Are you the multitasker? Are you the really strong team player? Are you the critical thinker, the planner? Are you the research person? So think of those skills and think which of them you have. Which of those skills would you prefer to deepen and develop? And allied to the potential courses, some of the courses, particularly within TU Dublin, many of them are very much project-based, CA-based, continuous assessment-based. So you'll have lots of projects, every couple of weeks in a particular module, throughout all of the modules, and that counts towards your final mark in that particular module, which obviously feeds into your overall mark for the year. So if you like consistently following through in terms of being a hard worker and consistently working, as opposed to leaving everything till 3 hours before a final exam, then that type of system will work for you, and you will develop those soft skills as well as those hard skills as part of your college course. The hard skills will be the skills that we would be attached to your discipline. So whatever you're studying, be it business or science or engineering, the hard skills would be the practical skills unique to that sector. So if you're a computer science student, then obviously the cloud computing, artificial intelligence, the software engineering, all of that, they would be definite skills in your area. And obviously you would need to be enjoying those skills to do well and succeed on such programs. And they need to be skills that sit well with you. Okay. And finally, the fourth element in terms of making a good choice. So we've already covered your values, your interests, and your skills. The fourth element is personality. Everyone's personality is unique to them. Okay, we can't change our personalities, but are you that warm, caring, enthusiastic, gracious, determined, bright person? Or what are your personality attributes? And certain careers are very strongly allied to certain personality traits. These easiest example in the world to give you is that nursing medical background. They most typically will be very people focused and also very much caring, empathy, kindness, generosity, calmness. So there are certain attributes and personality traits that you can associate with different sectors and different potential areas of employment. So again, depending on your course, what suits you best? What are your values? What are your interests? Our personality is determined. We can't change that, but you can work with what sits best for you in terms of your personality style and attributes. So in terms of resources, I did mention that I would give you some. If you're curious about any element of what I've spoken about so far, this is a really interesting website. It's called prospects.ac.uk. They have a lovely little prospects planner tool there. It's free. All you have to do is register with an email, your email address, so you will get a report back. And it literally, there's an assessment you can complete that asks what jobs would suit me. And it matches or correlates vis-a-vis about 60 or 70 really quick questions. It asks you questions about, what interests you, what motivates you, what are your skills and your abilities, and it's matched against a database of jobs and job titles. So depending on how you answer various questions, you will be matched into certain career and employment profiles. Now, that is often a really, really interesting exercise from 2 points of view. First of all, it will give you up to 10 different career paths. So that's quite a broad range. But secondly, when you see those 10, it's not a crystal ball. Okay, it's just suggestions in terms of your preferences and your information. But you may instantly eliminate 2 or 3 of those. You're like, oh, no, that's definitely not for me. Because you'll know innately what areas you're curious about or what subjects in secondary school that you're enjoying that you want to continue or that you wish to drop. So if you end up with 5 or 6 really good, varied career choice options, then that can feed into potential courses that you could follow through on, just as a suggestion. In terms of another interest questionnaire or self-assessment, and many of you may be familiar with this through Careers Portal, there's an excellent interest profiler. So, there's nothing wrong with doing both of these really quick assessments. The good news is there is no right or wrong answer. This is simply your information, but it is to generate that extra information, to try and tease it through and reflect as best you can how your information can feed into a potential course choice. So Prospects and Careers Portal are really good. If you're curious about the personality one, the MBTI being Myers-Briggs, you can go into this website here, personalitypage.com, and you'll be able to delve a little deeper there and explore a little further. And the last one there is Windmills Online. There's an exercise there in terms of values. If you're curious about what are your values and how they potentially could influence choices down the road. So that covers the 4, the skills, the interests, the personality, and the values. So in addition to that then, there's just a little wee screenshot of the Prospects website. So it's a lovely colourful website, and with an email address, a simple report is emailed back to you. And again, there's the Careers Portal Interest Profiler. And over here, where I'm just circling now with the cursor, is your match. You can click on that and complete a short exercise there. So just some general tips in terms of next steps and what you need to do. Obviously, February 1 is coming, so is Christmas, by the way. It's exactly 1 month from today, but equally, February 1 is just around the corner. If you are contemplating making choices and making a good informed choice, the earlier you start discussions, the earlier you start research, the earlier you start exploring and comparing like with like in as far as you can, the better. It's always good to engage with your guidance counsellor in school. So try in as far as you can to get a one-to-one with him or her. And just if you have preparation and research done in advance, you will come to that meeting also a little bit more informed. Obviously, this is very much the time now for open days or virtual open days, as the case may be. So if you have a number of colleges on your radar, and if it's beyond TU Dublin, make sure you attend those open days, ask your questions at those open days, and at least then you are giving yourself the best chance to move forward. Now, a couple of little home truths and things to be aware of. Perhaps you already are, and that's fantastic. Courses with the same names aren't necessarily the same in each college, okay? And just watch for that one. So once you look at a course title, always delve a little deeper. Look at the modules and then look at the content within the modules. And invariably that information is available on the college website. So make sure that if you're comparing course A with course B, that you're not just going on the title, that you're going on the modules and the content within the modules. Because if you're basing your search on your interests and your preferences and the skills and values attached to it, then make sure that you're comparing like with like and not apples with oranges. Some courses have a work placement option, which is fantastic. And also others have an Erasmus, a year out option, whereby you can travel to a European country or indeed further afield and spend 6 or 12 months abroad, either to enhance your language or to experience the culture of living abroad. So these are all other factors that may influence your choices. Now, for some of you, that might be your worst nightmare. You don't want to go away for a year. So if that's the case, then that's a way to eliminate those course choices from your options and from your list. But for many of you, it will be an attractive option. So it may be well worth looking at those. Any course that has a work placement inbuilt into it as a core placement as part of your course, it does make you a very attractive applicant when you finish your level 8 program. So just to be aware of that, if you can get 6 months or 12 months industry related experience as part of your course program, that really allows you to separate yourself from other peers in programs maybe that don't have that component. So just keep that one in mind. In terms of numbers in your class, have a think about this. Obviously in school, classes are relatively small, as in they may be 25, 30, 35. You know, in colleges, your classes could be much, much larger than that, depending on the university that you choose. So you could have 300, you could have 400, you could have 500, but that also depends on the discipline. But again, equally, there are courses in the likes of TU Dublin, and there may be no more than 15 or 20 or 25 in your class. So if you think that that is a factor for you, and back to your own self-evaluations on that, if you prefer a smaller class, if you prefer a more intimate class where it's easier to put up your hand and ask questions, then that will be a factor that will influence how well you settle into your course and how well you will succeed throughout your program. If you're on a larger program where you're anonymous and you're just one of 200, now maybe that will totally work for you, and that's fantastic too. So just think from your perspective, which group would you prefer to be in? And on that basis, what programs have courses with very large or very small numbers attached to it. I mentioned briefly a little earlier about the continuous assessment and the exams and the group and the project work. So again, many colleges have this as part of their assessment and their ongoing work within the semesters. Like a 14-week semester is a very short semester. So for many of you, and I'm not sure if I have parents and or pupils, children filling in the CAO forms, but if you're still in secondary school, you basically have a 2-year lead-in to your Leaving Cert exam. In college, you will have a 12-week, well, maybe 14-week lead-in to your exams for the very first set of semester exam. It's a very short time scale. So any aspect of a module that includes continuous assessment or projects or anything that will facilitate you having a mark and bringing it towards your final exam, that's a good thing, because that allows you to literally have, in some cases, you could have 40% of the final module in your back pocket because you've completed the CAs and the coursework required. So it's a great way of reducing any stress points and just, splitting any pressure points between the CAs and the exam at the end of a semester. In some cases, some courses are 100% continuous assessment, not across all modules, but in 1 or 2 modules, which means, again, you will have less written exams to sit at the end of semester. So again, ask at the open days, ask at the sessions you're going to attend after this session, what works best, what's the division of CAs versus project work versus 100% exams. And again, depending on your programs for the likes of engineering, for the likes of science, even computer science, there will be technical skills and there will be laboratory requirements. So that too can add to your hours in terms of commitment, but obviously the labs That's the practical element. So an awful lot of students love the practical element because it's one thing hearing it in theory in a lecture, but it's another then when you get the chance to practice it in the labs. But labs will usually reduce the sizes of classes because labs are limited by space and numbers. So any classes that require labs will usually have smaller numbers. Always talk to your lecturers, talk to current students and grads. So again, if you know anyone, if you are friends or contacts through whatever circles, if you are aware of people that are studying a course that you're half curious about, or if you're interested in a particular program in TU Dublin and your next door neighbour happens to be a third year student there, talk to him or her. Ask them what it's like. What's the ups? What's the downs? What's the pros? What's the cons? Because this will all inform a very informed decision for you. On the CAO side, just a few little thingies to remind you. I'm sure it's well drilled into you through your guidance counsellors, but from your own point of view, the course you want most goes first. Okay, so it doesn't matter if it's 600 points and your best day you're hoping to get 500. You never know from year to year what way the points are going. Obviously, over the last couple of years, they've only gone one way, up, up, up. But equally, there are always trends on programs and courses as well. And courses and programs come in and go out of fashion. Follow your passion, follow your interests, what's most important to you. So put the course you want most first. As I say, even if the points were high last year, you still put it down. You just never know. Bear in mind also that there are two lists. You can have up to 20 choices on your CAO form. Often we would find that students most typically will fill in the level 8 side, 1 to 7, 1 to 8, not even all 10 choices, and they might completely ignore the level 6, 7 side. So be a little bit clever, box clever here. The level 8 courses, generally the points are higher, way higher, more competitive. You can still get to the same point on that level 8 if you go a level 6, 7 route. Okay, so for many programs, it's often referred to as the ladder system. You will find it right throughout the CAO. But have a look. If you see a program at level 8 and it's also available at level 6 and 7, chances are entry to that program at level 6 and 7 will be less points. But once you progress through level 6, you can apply then for what's called an add-on. It's an advanced, it's a continuation. And when you get to level 7, you can then apply for an add-on, assuming it's available within the exact same course title. So this is what I mean by do your research and be familiar with that. High points course, not necessarily the best. High points and points are only an indication of how popular that course is. It has nothing to do with how easy or how difficult it is. Points are purely related to competition. If there's 50 places on a course and 5,000 people apply for it, then the points are going to go up. So, again, back to the first point here, the course you want most goes first. You do have up until July 1 to finalise your choices. So there is obviously that whole change of mind time piece as well. So, get your options and course choices down. Try not to, often when students complete the Leaving Cert, they might think, ooh, that paper didn't go great. I'm not so sure about this one. Don't be doing too severe, too radical of changes of mind. You could be over egging it. You could be over reading the situation. If your preferences are your preferences from the get-go, then stick with them. In terms of SUSI, now I don't know a lot about SUSI, but always if you think you're going to be eligible for SUSI, make sure you apply on time. It's a really good website. Have a look at it and make sure again that you have the information that you may need. It's okay to change your mind. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And this is more in terms of if you arrive into college and you end up like that, the first baby I showed you where you're like, I'm not happy with it. It's not working for me. It's not what I thought it was going to be. I have this conversation all the time with students. It's okay. You can do massive learning from that, okay? So there are 2 deadlines just to log somewhere in the back of your head. Don't overload yourself with deadlines. But normally colleges give students kind of 5-6 weeks once you start on a program. If it's really not for you and you withdraw by October 31, there's no impact on fees the following year. If you withdraw by 31st of January in any given first year, there's only a half fee implication. You lose fees for a half of the year, but not all of the year in terms of returning back to college. So just to be aware of that, every undergraduate student is entitled to 4 years of free fees at the minute. So, but you don't get free fees twice for the same year. So if I do first year this year and I don't like it, or I fail it at the end of the year and I have to do the same first year next year, you would have to pay fees, even if you were on a SUSI grant. So SUSI doesn't pay twice either for the same year. But again, let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's lots of help in college to assist you in your decision or to talk you through your options at that stage. And you would come and chat with one of us here in the Career Development Centre. All right, we're almost there. So thanks a million for bearing with me. So ultimately, we want you to be happy on your course. So we want you to enjoy it and to feel fulfilled and excited. Happiness is not about what others think. Do what you want to be. So this is about you. So we're very much back to you are the heart of your course. Be who you want to be. Do it well and be truly who you want to be. In the end, what we want is to make you a happy, successful person. And I have a very last little quote for you. I think this just says it all. Success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. If you love what you are doing, you will be successful. So if you love the course you are doing, you will be successful. And as a final point, just to be aware from a careers perspective, for so many employers that recruit graduates, many of them are not even slightly concerned what discipline you have studied. It's the graduate and the skills. So it's the person that applies and what attributes you can bring and what skills you can bring. And it's also the fact that you will have a level 8 degree implies you're competent, you're capable, you've been trained once, you can be trained again. So don't get hung up too much on the discipline. But that said, it's important and you will do better and be more successful on your program if you like it and you enjoy it.